Hello everyone, the day has finally come. After 3 years of waiting, Arcane Season 2 has officially landed, and after watching it, we're left thinking, what on earth is happening here? Just 3 episodes in, and Act 1 has already left us in awe. Not only because of the phenomenal quality of the show, but also because of the rapid changes in the characters. No one could have anticipated the psychological twists of the characters. It's true. Women's minds are hard to read. So many things happened, and looking back, it feels like both a logical and illogical outcome. It leaves a lingering sense of unease that I don't know where to place, so I'll put it in your hands. I'll be explaining and analyzing each episode in turn to clarify exactly why and how the characters act the way they do. Keep in mind that I'll definitely be mentioning the plot, so go watch it on Netflix first, then come back here and discuss it with me. Alright, let's dive into the first episode. Season 2 opens right at the ending of Season 1, where Jinx's missile hits the council chamber. It's truly a devastating missile, with enough destructive power to destroy part of the chamber. And naturally, the fate of those inside is tragic. Surprisingly, Jace and Mel aren't hurt at all. They're only mentally shaken. Clearly, Jace didn't bring his hammer, so there's no headstake shield to protect them. Yet somehow they're unscathed. There's a reason for that, which I'll explain later on. Zola nearly cosplays as Two-Face or Ghost Rider. Her injury is severe, destroying one side of her face. Wasn't as lucky and died in the rubble. It seems he didn't get to use the gift Mel gave him 7 years ago. Nearby, the robot Bolbok shares a similar fate. His mechanical body wasn't enough to withstand the missile's destruction. Even a robot didn't survive, which speaks to the sheer power of the explosion. Salo was a bit luckier, only sustaining severe injuries, but his leg was crushed by a boulder. The final victim, Lady Cassandra, Caitlyn's mother, didn't make it. Sadly, she didn't get to see her daughter and husband one last time. The missile hit near her position, so her passing was somewhat expected. Ambessa arrived immediately after hearing of the attack. Clarification needed here. But later we can see her cunning mind swiftly taking advantage of the situation. Finally, Victor's fate is revealed. He's not dead, but he's gravely injured, unconscious in the debris. This is a pivotal moment for Victor. He didn't manage to destroy the technology core, and now, in his unconscious state, HexCore seems to be connecting mysteriously with him. Jace, desperate and with no other choice, decides to use it to link with his unconscious friend's body. Thus begins a new chapter for Victor, which I'll analyze further in upcoming parts. Overall, the opening of Season 2 is identical to Season 1, with no dialogue, but it conveys tragedy beautifully, and the metaphorical connection between the two openings is magnificent. Do you remember the scene on the bridge that introduced the story? It showed the stark difference between two cities. One city thriving on everything wonderful, becoming exceptionally wealthy, while the other was stripped to the bone to survive. Powder's words are the voice of every child in Zon. Children take whatever is given to them. Yet what Piltover gave to the Undercity was destruction. So, destruction is what they got in return. After all, what Piltover received was the consequence of its cold-hearted behavior. If it hadn't been Jinx, someone else would have eventually brought about this kind of devastation. Season 1 opened with the tragedy and suffering of Zon, and Season 2 begins with Piltover's horror. War will always bring pain to anyone involved. If they don't realize this, more pain will follow. Lady Cassandra's funeral is accompanied by mournful music. The lyrics express Caitlyn's feelings at this moment. There's a deep, dark ocean below the waves where dreams drift away, a soft stillness that's now only a memory, like the sound of my mother's voice singing to me, but now I can't hear it anymore. Amidst the somber gray of the funeral, a bright red flower stands out. This is a metaphor for Vah. Her sister just killed the person lying in the coffin, yet she's like a flower bidding them farewell to their resting place. It's truly strange. What will Piltover think if they find out about this? As V turns to walk away, Caitlyn suddenly realizes she is now all alone. It's a sign of their impending separation. Back at the council, Mel says, "I don't know how we'll handle this crisis without her." This reflects Caitlyn's feelings, as she always had conflicts with her mother. Now that she's gone, Caitlyn is left struggling to face the void her mother left behind. Zalo appears, visibly furious, having suffered many injuries. At the end of Season 1, Zalo was one of the fiercest opponents of the idea to grant autonomy to John. Now he emphasizes that they almost place their trust in the demons below. Mel quickly realizes her mother's dark scheme in this situation. Remember, Zalo and Haskell had a particular interest in Noze's wine and had shady dealings with the Empire. So Lady Abessa chose Zalo as her contact, easily finding common ground with him in his anger against the Undercity. Abessa has subtly implanted the idea in Zalo to focus military power on Joan, using Hextech to crush any signs of rebellion and enforce a brutal crackdown. But in reality, Abessa doesn't just want to deal with Joan, she also wants access to enhanced weaponry powered by Hextech to arm her forces. She's a seasoned strategist. As soon as the terror attack happened, she calculated how to exploit the situation. On Sola's side, her eye injury was healed with advanced Piltover implants, reflecting her strategic insight as she suggests that it's crucial to reassure the people now and show that the government is in control. Mel has always opposed war and only wants to protect Piltover. She argues that sending troops into John would only unite the people there in resistance. Instead of a direct confrontation, she suggests sowing division by putting a bounty on Jinx, encouraging them to hand her over to the authorities themselves. However, Sola wants Piltover to capture Jinx directly to ensure security. This puts Mel in a difficult position, as both counselors support the idea of arming against Joan. At this moment, Lady Abessa makes a calculated demand. There must be unity in opinion, arguing that city leaders must stand together. Her goal is to force Mel to agree to send troops to the Undercity, while also pressuring Mel to come under her influence. However, Mel perceives her mother's intent to manipulate Hextech, so she cites the ethos law requiring no Hextech to be brought along. This persuades Sola, who respects principles, and Mel temporarily triumphs over her mother in this battle of wits. Although she must concede, Abessa has not yet achieved her goal, so she resorts to planning another strategy. Meanwhile, at Caitlyn's home, an atmosphere of gloom prevails. Her father seems completely broken, living without purpose after Lady Cassandra's death. He resents V's presence, blaming her as an indirect cause of his wife's death. Although Caitlyn is heartbroken, she takes on the responsibility of being the family's anchor. When alone with Vi, she finally releases all the pent-up emotions she's been holding inside. However, the bond between the two soon yields to harsh reality. Vi wants to catch Jinx on her own to atone, but Caitlyn asks her to join the Enforcers to find Jinx together, hoping to reduce the animosity between Piltover and the Undercity. She wants to show that not everyone in the Undercity agrees with Jinx. But Vi can't forget that the Enforcers once killed her parents. Caitlyn unintentionally hurts Vi by saying, "I thought you were on our side." Faced with this conflicting demand, Vi leaves, leaving Caitlyn in deep inner conflict. Under the rain, Vi encounters a man who resembles Vander, briefly triggering a sense of connection from Caitlyn. But perhaps it's just a fleeting imagination. Returning to Jinx and Victor, Hextech technology has now formed a cocoon around Victor, a significant image previously teased in Season 2's promos. The Hextech core has evolved, and where it will lead Victor, salvation or destruction, remains unknown. Jace wonders why he didn't get injured like Victor and suspects Mel may have protected him. At the end of the previous season, Mel's hidden powers might have activated, but as they go against the ethos law, she keeps them secret. Mel warns Jace about her mother's schemes with Hextech, and Jace promises Victor he won't let this technology create conflict between the two cities. Her words now carry an undercurrent of hatred. She says what we've heard in the trailer, "I want to rip that laugh right out of her throat." The main writer of Arcane is a woman, and she has depicted the female character's psychology remarkably well. Caitlyn is struggling with herself. She understands how easily hatred can arise, as a single cruel act by Jinx has filled her with intense anger. She might have thought of what Vit went through, as angry as she is. But after all this time, Vi is still a good person, maintaining her core nature even after living in the chaos of the Undercity. Caitlyn needs Vi, not only for support, but with Vi by her side, she might avoid sinking into endless hatred. By this point, V had grown close to that police officer, likely due to his resemblance to Vander. She recalled being cast out by Kiraman. There was no reason for her to stay in Piltover. Her sister had wreaked havoc on this place, and now it seemed time for her to leave Caitlyn's grand, bright house and return to her own shanty town. However, Vi's departure was delayed by the appearance of two enforcers, Nolan, who was neither a filmmaker nor a visitor from Pandora, and Maddie, a girl who seemed charming. Her conversational manner was warm, making her quite likable. If people like her had filled the ranks, rather than the aggressive Marcus from Season 1, perhaps Piltover and Zahn wouldn't be so deeply divided. At least that's an assumption. Through Maddie's words, we learn Caitlyn took on Armstrong's work at the Enforcers' headquarters just to get permission for Vi and her team to join in. Pay attention to Maddie's account. Vi had apparently attempted on her own, and the large officer seemed to pick up on that detail. It appears he, too, has some connection to the matter. Through Maddie, we also learn that Chief Marcus betrayed them by collaborating with Silco. With Marcus and Silco both dead, it seems any issues related to Silco have been settled. The only thing left to handle is Shimmer. Season 2's focus is now solely on Jinx, and to deal with that, Vi's partnership is crucial. Ultimately, she accepts Caitlyn's invitation. Using enforcers with friendly appearances like Maddie had helped reduce Vi's misgivings. She understood that the enforcers weren't all bad. Some were indeed good-hearted. And then disaster strikes sooner than expected, arriving in Episode 1 with a spectacularly intense battle. Amidst the council members' memorial, Rennie, the grieving mother who lost her son at Jace's hands last season, exacts her bloody revenge. Rennie mingles with the crowd, launching an ambush during the gathering to honor the council members. Unfortunately, she misses her target at close range. Meanwhile, her subordinates create a distraction for Vi, drawing her toward the center of the square where Mel stands, just to strike her once across the face, then leave her be. Then come the powered-up berserker suits. We saw their strength last season, but now there's an even more formidable giant in play. It's astounding that Rennie, despite her terrifying subordinates, was once overshadowed by Silco. Highlight: Silco's organization must have been even more formidable. In the chaotic melee that ensues, Jace tears a green liquid-filled tube from Rennie, causing her eyes to redden. I wonder about the chemical properties of this liquid, abundant in Zahn, where residents use it in various ways, even drinking it. But how does it differ from Shimmer? It may be used to cleanse their blood of white toxins. The scene cuts to Navi and Maddie in peril, and immediately, the man resembling Vander arrives to rescue them. Ambessa has impeccable timing, always appearing at the most pivotal, powerful moments to assert her importance, alongside her trusted subordinate Rictus. Highlight: she stands close to Rennie, ready to seize victory for Piltover. That woman was willing to trade in Shimmer with Silco, disregarding its consequences on the Undercity. Yet when she lost her son, she didn't hesitate to bring carnage to Piltover in revenge. This attack finally robbed Caitlyn of the remaining sanity she was struggling to hold on to. She remarked, "What kind of beast targets a memorial?" The close-up on her lips as she said, "beast," made it clear Caitlyn was losing her grip. Vi saw this and tried to dissuade her from mobilizing forces against Zahn, but Caitlyn, blinded by anger and helplessness, saw no other way out. She realized that if her mother were alive, Cassandra would have made more rational, carefully considered decisions. But now, consumed by emotion and driven by vengeance, all she wanted was Vi by her side, because she knew that if she pursued Jinx alone, it would be a battle to the death. Highlight: it's like the rivalry between a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law destined for conflict. In the end, seeing Caitlyn in this state, Vi accepted her request as it was the only way to keep everything under control. Back at the Kiraman estate, we notice a series of portraits of women. It seems this family follows a matriarchal tradition where women lead. Now, Caitlyn must take on that responsibility. When Caitlyn opens her family's box, it appears to contain records of her family's history. We see that the Kiraman family had manufactured special suits adapted for Zahn's air and kept records of toxic gas explosions. I get the feeling that the Kiraman family is hiding something unsettling. The council meeting then continues with Mel and Jace. They demonstrate the process of producing hex tech. Jace raises the question of how, despite the high security of the memorial event, the terrorists were able to infiltrate. Mel expresses suspicion that someone up above might have aided Zahn in the recent attack. She doesn't directly state her thoughts, but the way Ambessa looks at her daughter shows a clear understanding between them. Of course, who else but Ambessa, with her cunning schemes, could have assisted Rennie in orchestrating the raid on Piltover? By doing so, she could push the city to the brink and force them to arm themselves according to her wishes. She was satisfied with the information and proposal from Caitlin that Jace had begun mass producing new Hextech weapons. However, contrary to Ambessa's expectations, Caitlin decided not to deploy the full force in attacking Zahn, instead leading only a small group. It seems this decision was influenced by V to prevent an all-out assault. Therefore, although Mel did not intervene, Ambessa still didn't achieve her ultimate goal of obtaining a large cache of Hextech weapons for her army. Nonetheless, from this, she realized that Caitlin holds substantial control over Hextech and is now the head of the Kiraman family. This may become her next target for manipulation to achieve her aims. In the end, we see a scene in a snowy landscape where Singed appears, facing a pack of wolves. One has to wonder, where is this? Piltover doesn't have such snowy areas, nor is there any nearby location that resembles it. Could this be somewhere in Freljord, or perhaps the northern border of Noxus? Do you remember that the Hex Gate can transport airships across half the continent? This means it could take them from Piltover to the borders of Noxus and Freljord. The reason for Singed's presence here, if you're familiar with League of Legends lore, is that he aims to collect samples from wolves for his experiments. But I think this is a flashback scene taking place a few years ago. We've already seen that his current experiments have produced hairy creatures. My analysis of the first episode of Arcane, Heavy in the Crowd, shows Riot put in meticulous preparation, and it's no coincidence they partnered with Linkin Park, right? The song title is also the episode title, and it captures the essence of Caitlin taking on her family's responsibilities following her mother's passing. This was a perfect opening episode. I'd love to share more, but I'll save my energy for the upcoming episodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support my channel. Thanks so much, everyone.